Night on the Black Channel. Tonight's program is going to be a little bit different from what we usually do here. I don't know exactly how things are going to go, but we're going to just jump right off into it because tonight's program is going to be something more active. We're going to be going into details here. I'm asking a question. I'm asking a question about this spree of white supremacist shooters all over the place. What is causing it? What precipitates these things? What emboldens it? What could be promoting this? So you take a look at individuals like Chud the Blunder. You take a look at that right there, and you notice they try to geek people up and amp them up to go off and go do their dirty work. That's always been the MO. And then we talked about this last week as well. We talked about this last week as well in Lebanon, Tennessee, a place that has seen a pretty good influx of people showing up there. These places are blowing up. Anything outside of Nashville, Tennessee, as I warned you all about a decade ago. And then you got individuals like this Robert Moore guy. You got folk like him running around out there, attempting to murder people in the middle of the streets. And I got questions about these things. And then there was yet another one. This one I talked about here before, but I want to go ahead and just briefly recap on that. This Jeffrey Kinzer guy down in Leesburg in Lee County, Georgia. This Jeffrey Kinzer guy. And you're asking the question here, okay, what in the world was causing this? Because you're not really hearing anything. Don't worry, we're going to come back to that. But you're not really hearing anything. So what in the world is starting to propagate this? And I was taking a look at it and stuff, and it's like, okay, and he's shooting up places and whatnot. I mean, these folk were having a family reunion, and he came by yelling nigger at everybody. They called the police. The police didn't do anything. And so he comes back a little while later and starts shooting up the place. He shot a couple of people. They shot back. The police arrested him, but there's more to the story there. And the question was, what in the world was causing that? And in this case here, it seemed a little bit odd to me. But then I started remembering something else. Because you see, this is another post here from WALB. And what do you know? Now, this one is from today. Now, don't mind the picture here. They put in the video player, which has an unrelated story, but in any case, it's talking about Juneteenth. Although this picture here couldn't have been worse. Oh, it's on the video player. Breaking chains, building legacy. Lee County celebrates Juneteenth with parade through downtown. So you can see what's happening there. I guess this is downtown Lee County, Leesburg. And what I'm saying is that you realize what's going on here. The Lee County community celebrated Juneteenth on Saturday, June 13th, with a festival and a parade through downtown Leesburg. The theme for the 2026 celebration was Breaking Chains, Building Legacy. The festivities began at 10 a.m. Saturday and featured Grand Marshal Dr. Ronnie Cotton, parade announcer Miss Carly Heath Sands, and parade visionary Lady Trish Batten. Several groups, community groups, and local agencies were involved in the celebration, including 26 parade participants. As the official parade announcer, WALB's Carly Heath Sands got up and took pictures, dancers, motorcycles. You get the idea. And what I'm saying here is that, yeah, Juneteenth found its way to Leesburg, Georgia. And just about a week before that, this happens. Disconnected, unconnected, a white man sees a group of black folk and opens fire. What in the world was precipitating this? What's causing that? I got questions. I have a number of different questions here because you see, the issue that we have is that, by the way, not only are these folks committing crimes, but these folks are being released. Not only are they committing crimes, Well, these folks are being released. So I want you to understand that as well. In the case of Lebanon, Tennessee, for example, they let that guy out on bail the same day. He was released on bond the same day for attempted murder in the middle of the street. He was let out the same day. So I want you all to understand that in the case of Chud the Blunder, there are folks out there being held, but because there's attention on these things, and yet right down the road, Lebanon, Tennessee, right down the road in Lebanon, Tennessee, this guy, right down the road in Lebanon, Tennessee, this is the district attorney serving in that area. Should not be surprising. By the way, he wants you to know something, folks, that General Lawson, he's General, okay. His philosophy is that our criminal justice system is only as strong as our prosecutors. He serves to ensure that criminal prosecution in the 15th district is tough but fair. Hard to believe when they're letting attempted murderers out immediately. Folks, please understand, this guy that I showed you all here from last week, he sits up here, he shoots the place up. I mean, this is a violent felon, if you ever saw one. And sure enough, what they're telling you is that this gets you released the same day. He goes to the car, he gets a gun, he starts firing at people to murder them. And District Attorney Jason Lawson, who wants to call himself General, why he says that assaulting people and firing guns to murder them, why you should be released on bond the exact same day. The same day. Now, I've got some thoughts and I've got some ideas about this. And we're going to be discussing those as well, because you see, that's not the only one. Remember this incident I was telling you about here in Lee County, in Leesburg, Georgia. You go looking for the district attorney there. Now, these, apparently in some of these places, they serve regions. Okay, fine. Let me tell you, it took a while to find him. His name is Louis Lamb. It takes a while to find him because he doesn't put his picture up anywhere. I mean, this is a guy who's supposed to be their district attorney, and yet this fella here, everywhere you go, they got his name, but no pictures. Now, of course, in the modern era here, that's impossible for you to be able to conceal that, but here he is apparently in church with the good Georgians, it looks like. It looks like he's there in church talking to the good Georgians while they are allowing the local white supremacist madman to run around and wreak havoc and murder as much as they can. And I think what the issue here is that these folks have not been informed of exactly what the problem is. This goes to an error or an area of organization. An era and an era of organization, because you see, here's the thing. There's no way in the hell that Chud the Blunder is sitting up here in jail and not able to get out, and then right down the road, literally right down the road in Lebanon, Tennessee, you have a district attorney that lets them out the exact same day. The reason for that is because they think that it's happening in a vacuum, and they think that they can get away with it, and they think that there's not going to be a spotlight put on it. That's the kind of situation that you're looking at here, is that they are assuming that it'll be white supremacy business as usual. And they're rolling the dice that nobody's going to put a spotlight on it. Okay. Well, I gotta tell you all, I have it on good authority that they may have wagered wrong in this respect. And I think that it is incumbent to make it very clear to them that everybody sees what's going on, that everyone sees what's happening, and that you're going to make sure that they know that these things will not happen in the dark. They won't happen in shadows. And if you were hoping that maybe you could just sweep them under the rug, that will not be the way that goes. Now, I want you all to know that next week, I intend for next week to be a busy week. Remember Ahmaud Arbery, folks? They thought that they were going to do that one in a vacuum too, remember? Down there in Georgia, remember Ahmaud Arbery? They thought they were going to do that one in a vacuum also. Things changed. Things change quick. You can expect to suspect a white supremacist to do that, but just understand our job is to make sure that it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Our job is to make sure it does not happen in a vacuum. So I want to start in this area here first. I think it is incumbent to make it very clear to District Attorney Lamb that the idea that you have gunmen in states that have punitive gun laws. Folks, here's the thing. These states have made sure that if you commit a crime with a gun, felony. These are crimes with a gun. When they say aggravated assault, they're trying to misdemeanor that. Whoa. No. We don't turn felony gun crimes into misdemeanors. You all have spent the last 6 decades building a whole prison industrial complex. We are not going to do like the war on drugs where black drugs are criminalized and white drugs are excused. And no, that's not right. No. What he's counting on is they made the news, and that's going to be the end of that. And what I'm saying is that, sir, if you are not going to respond to the news, at a certain point, you become the news. So while they're spending the weekend making their hash browns and taters with their gluten-free ice cream, while they're doing that this weekend, we're over here. And folks, I'm telling you, in the words from HBO's Oz, let's get organized. And by this time next week, we're going to have a conversation, I imagine, with Mr. Lamb. We're going to have an opportunity to have a conversation with Mr. Lamb, I imagine. This weekend, he may be eating on a rare bologna sandwich. They may be eating on a rare bologna sandwich with some tater tots and some unsalted, unbuttered mashed potatoes. I understand that. Let's do as you please. However, Monday, no. Monday morning it needs to be a different thing. So I have some questions I need to ask to my audience. I got questions about who's in Leesburg because I would like to know. I'd like to know where the downtown is because according to WALB, this is downtown Leesburg. Okay, that's great. All right, I'm glad everybody showed up with their cars and things. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. I would like to take a trip. I think it would be great for us to take a trip to downtown Leesburg ourselves. Might be a good idea to do that. Wherever Mr. Lamb is, we want to make certain that he sees his constituents. And I think it would be a great idea to do that. So if I got folk there in Leesburg, if you are familiar with Mr. Lamb, we certainly would like to get in touch with him. And during this midterm election year, I'm not sure if he's up for election or not, but I strongly suspect that Mr. Lamb is hoping that there won't be a pull-up. I think he's suspecting that, don't worry, the heat's on a little bit, but it's his job to sweep these things under the rug. And I think it's incumbent on us to make sure that no sweeping under the rug. So I am only putting out to folks, if you're in that area in Leesburg, Georgia, only for them. If we got folk around that area, that's where we want to be at. We would like to get acquainted with Mr. Lamb, who apparently it's questionable whether or not he understands the severity of gun crimes in Georgia. Apparently, he may not actually understand the severity of gun crimes, and maybe it's because not enough attention has been brought to it. And then next up, the offices where District Attorney Jason Lawson is. I would like for us to go ahead and have a conversation with him also. I don't think tonight's program may be terribly long because I need you all to understand that after this week, you have a white supremacist rampage going on here and aiding and abetting by those in office who are hoping that perhaps there will not be enough attention brought to the situation. The job is to make sure that there's attention brought to it. So going into this upcoming week, I'll be doing my part. Maybe you'll do yours. I'll be doing my part. Maybe you'll do yours. But these folk here, it's like, okay, Jason Lawson thinks that we should be releasing armed gunmen in the middle of the streets. They're on camera shooting up the place, and he thinks that they should have bail the exact same day. Perhaps the issue is that this hasn't been highlighted enough for him. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe the issue is that they're so accustomed to business as usual, or maybe he's so acquainted with white supremacists, suspected white supremacists. Maybe he's so acquainted with them that he's kind of lost touch of what he's supposed to be doing. Or maybe he thinks that this is what he's supposed to be doing. And hopefully there won't be very much attention on it so that we can go ahead and sweep this on out the door and sweep this under the rug before anybody has a chance to notice. Unfortunately for him, we had a chance to notice. So I'm just letting everybody know here that going into next week, this is at the top of my agenda. This is at the forefront and the top of my agenda going into next week. I'm adopting these. I'm adopting these as some of the newest things to take a look at here. I'm adopting them. Is what I'm going to be doing. Maybe, just maybe, might have an opportunity to do a program here next week. Maybe I'll be doing that. Maybe I will. I just might have a program here that I'll be doing next week. Then again, maybe I'll be doing more than one. Maybe I'll be doing more than one. Who knows? So, if you all see me doing programs next week, you're going to have some idea why it is. You're going to have some idea why it is. Because you see, what's happening here is, you're up against groups out here. They got resources. And they've organized to be able to try to make things, make things catch on. They have their little networks that they have. And the white supremacists always try to get on the same page with each other to try to pick up a cause. And they've grown accustomed to the idea that since George Floyd, we're out of that business. See, back after George Floyd happened, everybody was getting lit up everywhere. It was pull-up year, damn a summer. It was just pull-up season. And you had the bad guys on the ropes. They've gotten accustomed to the idea that they're able to run wild. Trump has pumped up their little courage, and they've gotten the idea they're going to run wild, and this is exactly what I wanted. What? This is exactly what I wanted. You can't fight white supremacy if you don't prove white supremacy. So you see, you gotta let them get out there and do stuff that is so bad, so blatant, so egregious, so over the top that there is no argument or discussion about how heinous they are. They're sitting up thinking everybody condones being heinous, and then they go off and do stupid stuff. Then they have to rely on prosecutors as, well, hey, you're supposed to be on our side, remember? You're supposed to be on our side. Wink, wink. And that's when you start knocking them off one by one. So these other guys out here, they're the ones who are thinking to themselves, okay, well, we're going to carry the banner here, but we got to do it low key where nobody's watching and nobody's looking. Okay, we're watching and we're looking. We're watching, we're looking, we see you. What they're gambling on is now, what are the realistic chances that even if you're watching and even if you're looking, that you'd be able to make an event of it? I mean, what are the realistic chances? And our job is to demonstrate to them that the realistic chances are pretty damn good, actually. The chances are pretty damn good that there's going to be a response, as a matter of fact, that you will not be able to conceal it. The chances are pretty damn good. So I want you all to be aware that this weekend, I know it's going to seem a little sparse. I understand that. I know it's going to be a little sparse this weekend, but please understand my focus. I got a heavy focus on next week. So not here to entertain or anything like that, but just understand, yeah. We'll be having a bit of a campaign, if you will. Crusade. Pete Hegseth. We'll be having a bit of a crusade about that. So that's what we'll be doing. My folks in the Nashville area, my folks in the Lebanon, Tennessee, Nashville area. I think that the real issue that we have is that not enough has been done to get these folks' attention. That's what I think the issue is. I think the issue is that not enough has been done to get these folks' attention. Not enough has been done to get their attention, and they're used to the idea that they're just going to be able to do any old thing. That's kind of what I think they're telling themselves. They've seen what's happened in Davidson County. They've seen what's happened in Davidson County in Tennessee, and some of these other areas may have individuals who are more agreeable or conciliatory with certain racist or suspected racist elements, and that rather than them doing the right thing, they're kind of scared to do the right thing because they're kind of accustomed to things being the way that they have, which is very easy to do when nobody's watching. You see, the reason that Chud the Blunder is still behind bars right now is because that's what occurs when everyone's watching. When everyone's watching and everyone's looking, and you know that everyone's watching and everyone's looking, you tend to not give in to some of those possibly racial inclinations that you have. It's like, oh hell, folks is watching. Damn. When nobody's watching, it's kind of like the internet. You can kind of tell yourself you can really wild out because nobody can really see you. But that being seen thing, damn noticing, we're seeing. And that being seen thing, that could be a little bit different for you. That could be a little bit different. So just understand where my focus is right now. Just understand where my focus is right now. My focus here is on where we're going with this next. I had a program that I did earlier this week. And I want to remind everybody, because there were folks, I didn't do that program as a throwaway. I didn't do that for nothing. I did the program I did early this week, and if you weren't paying attention, you missed it. I guess you can go back and go watch it if you want to there. I did the program early this week. Okay, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? See, 5 years ago, these kind of things would have been unthinkable, but if you thought that white supremacy was just going to slither away back into its hole and that they were just going to disappear, you're wrong. They get up every day, every minute of every day. This isn't their job. This is their life. This is their existence. It never goes away, and white supremacy never takes a holiday. So we can discuss Juneteenth. You can talk about Juneteenth. You can celebrate Juneteenth. But there is no holiday. Not for us. Not for us. Brother Neely Fuller even said, even once we eradicate white supremacy, you might take about 5 minutes to observe it, and then it is okay. What's next? So for those of you who missed it or were wondering or didn't get the memo or whatever, you're just checking in this weekend. Yes, we've already covered these things, and we want you to be aware. We did a whole program. What are we going to do about it? And I need you to understand that this is what we're going to do about it. Time to shine some spotlights. Time to let some folks know we're here to make some noise. If the media thinks that it's going to collaborate and sweep these things under the rug, that will not be allowed to happen either. They're telling themselves that that's what's going to occur, but that's not going to be allowed to, one way or the other. This is what it'll be, one way or the other. I have a couple of things in mind. I'll be covering that. I have a couple of things in mind here. Now, I want to just say one thing. I just want to say one thing. I'm not looking to or for anybody else to do anything. Not looking at that. What we discussed earlier this week, that's going to be a different matter. I've been talking to folk about that. We've been comparing notes. So what we talked about earlier this week, that is going to be something that we're going to be seeing about. That's going to be something that we're going to be seeing about here. We'll be doing that. And yes, once again, please understand the white supremacists are angry. They should be. The white supremacists are angry. The white supremacists are mad. The white supremacists understand. See, there's a reason they were all over my Twitter. You can go take a look at that. They were all over the Twitter. They were all in the sauce. I mean, boy, I'm telling you, they had all their chips riding on one thing. They put all their chips on one thing, and that was it. They are still furious about the previous decade of L's that they were taking. So they're just latching on to anything and everything that they possibly can, no matter how pathetic. And of course, what they don't understand is that, hey, dude, that's not the game. That is not the game. We're not playing the same game with you here. That's not the same game. Understand what's going on with it. Y'all are playing the old one. They're playing the old game. That's why they had to put all their chips on one thing. Understand something. They were really, really desperate for Chud the Blunder. They were hoping that he would be the one walking the streets. That's what they really wanted. That would have been the win. That would have been the win for them, is if Chud the Blunder had gotten out. But see, that didn't happen. So they've been desperate to get something ever since. Do you understand where the real battlefield is right now? The battlefield now is about narrative. The white supremacists have lost the narrative. They're not losing it. They have lost it. All they're desperately trying to do now is try to grab as many crumbs off the table as they can, but they've already lost the narrative. They already lost that. This is what they're trying to do now. We can distract and deflect. They can attempt to do that. Doesn't work. And so going forward here, when I'm talking about what are we going to do about it, we're going to have a response to it. We're going to have a response to it. It's not going to be in just one place. We're going to have a response to it. You see, when we witnessed injustice against Breonna Taylor, there's a way in which you deal with these things. When you witness injustice in these places, there's a way in which you deal with that. And some of these places here consider themselves to be immune. They've gotten used to practicing white supremacy like that. They've considered themselves to be immune. It's like, in my world, I'm like, okay, let's test that. Let's test that. We're going to go ahead and test that out. Brothers and sisters from around the world, the white supremacists think that they are untouchable. They think that they are immune. They think that that nobody is going to be able to expose them. They think that they're going to be able to hide these things. And I say we're going to test that. We are going to test that to see if you really can conceal these things. We're going to test that and see if you actually can. Let's see if you actually can. Because this is a battle about setting the narrative. Oh, good. Because unlike the old dead black media, we're actually very well versed over here in how to set the narrative. Ask Keisha Bottom B, drunk Uncle Lori Lightfoot, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Take a look at where we posted up and then take a look at who was left standing when we were done. You'll all remember that in New York State when they murdered Robert Brooks. Remember, they were not going to take any action on that. They weren't doing anything about that until we showed up. They were not going to do anything about that. Remember Eric Dillon, the villain? I mean, he was proudly boasting, I don't know nothing about that, and I ain't got no position. Okay. This is how folks do when they think that nobody's watching. Please understand the game they're playing. This is how they do when they think no one is watching. The tune changes when they realize that people are paying attention. That's when the tune changes. That's when the tune changes. So we're going to have an opportunity to test that. Everybody talks big and everybody talks sharp and everybody talks like they don't give a damn. because they feel untouchable and I've got my political office here and corruption as usual. Everybody does that right until you turn the lights on. Everybody does that right until they start making the news and they weren't trying to make the news. Everybody says that right about then. So, you know what? I'd like to know about that. I'd like to know about that. I have a few questions. I have a few questions here. I'm not going to say a lot right here in front of the world. Oh, for the white supremacists, I know you are damned angry. I know you are angry as hell. Can you just tell us what the game plan is? I'm not going to say what the game plan is. I know. We have to say too much more publicly than I would like to, but oh, no. No, we don't tip our hand here, and you don't get the game plan. You're going to find out when they find out. That's when you're going to know what the game plan is when they find out. No, we're not going to tip anything. No, you're not going to have an opportunity to. No, we're not tipping anything. All you need to know is that we're watching. And the watching and the seeing will continue. And beyond that comes the doing. So just understand we're watching. They say that they're not going to be moved. Okay, we'll test that. We'll test that. We'll have an opportunity to test it. Jason, everything tonight, this is a different type of program. It sounds vague. No, it's not like the old days. Oh, no. We're more sophisticated now. It's not like the old days. See, in the old days, they're used to black folk telling them everything you're thinking. They're used to black folks saying everything. I want to go in a different direction. We're going to go in a different direction with this. Starting Monday morning. So, I don't usually do this. However, this is a special occasion. I do not usually do this. However, if you are in the Leesburg area, if you are actually in the Leesburg area, or if you're in the Lebanon, Tennessee area, I want that for a reason, not Davidson County. I think Lebanon is Wilson County, I think Lebanon is Wilson County. But if you're in those areas, I want you to get in touch with me. You can send me an email. The email you're going to send it to is going to be jasonblackauthority@yahoo.com. That is jasonblackauthority@yahoo.com. And for the subject line, just put in I live in Leesburg, Georgia area, or I live in Lebanon, Tennessee area. If you live in one of those areas, if you don't, fall back. Unless you're very familiar with it, because the only exception would be if you are very familiar with it. That's the only way that would work there, is if you're very familiar with it. Okay. So make sure you have that straight. Make sure you have that straight there. The email address is jasonblackauthority@yahoo.com. That's all one word, jasonblackauthority@yahoo.com, with the subject line if you live in Leesburg or in Wilson County. And for now, that's all. For now, that's all. That's all we need for right now. That's it. And the rest of it, we'll take it from there. The rest of it, we'll take it from there. Just in time for the summer, it's a new day. Now, in the chat room, whoever Vincent is, you all can tell Vincent that the Zoom link is up here. So Vincent will be required to go ahead and give us a call on Zoom. That's not a suggestion, that is an order. So Vincent will have an opportunity here to call us on Zoom. He's got the next couple of minutes to be on Zoom there. So Vincent, so glad that you have asked to speak. Now you'll be required to do so. But so glad you have decided to speak, so now you'll be required to do it. Before I go any further, let me thank everyone who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to Nancy King. Pull Up Summer is in order. Accurate Assessment TBA. Oh, sister, we just getting started. To my man, Mr. Richburg. To Karen, the only Karen that we actually like around these parts. Thank you very much for contributing to tonight's program, sister here. Butterfly Voice is a new member, Logical for Emotion. Tom Slick, Fear None, User, thank you very much for your support here tonight. While we are waiting on Vincent here, what we're going to do is we're going to just go ahead and take a very brief non-commercial break. When we come back here, I'm going to go ahead and see about taking you all's calls. We'll touch on a couple of things in case you all are late. We'll touch on a couple of things just in case you're late, but a few things I want to touch on here, and then we'll come back to it. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we ripping the gains. Mr. B the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slaveries and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. Let me go ahead and just do a little bit of housekeeping in this regard here. Let me do a little bit of housekeeping here. For those of you who missed my previous program, although there's very few of you who actually missed it there, we did touch on the situation with the Carmelo Anthony verdict. We did talk about that in real time. I was going to wait on the other side to go ahead and get to that. Let me just say one thing right here, from the jump here. I just want to reiterate exactly where I've stood on this from the very beginning. I want this to sink in. I need this to sink in. Sometimes you need folks to see how real the situation is. That it's not fake, it's not phony, they're not playing no games. Take a look at all the folks, some of which you thought was your friends or buddies or whatever. Yo, you rocking with me, I'm rocking with you. Trap Lord Ross and other folk out there. You see, in situations like this, it is good to embolden the white supremacists or suspected white supremacists. It's good to embolden them so that they start letting the real thing come out. Go ahead and embolden them so that they can take off the mask or the hood, if you will, and start saying what they really think. When they find something that they think they can hide behind or something they think they can ride on, they won't be able to contain themselves even when it's not in their interest to do so. When it is deadly imperative that they contain themselves, they won't be able to do so because that's what this fight is about for them. Not having to hold back their darker urges, not having to pretend that they're interested in justice, not having to pretend that they're anything other than animalistic beasts. That's what this is about. When we talk about they want to make the world safe for white supremacy, making it safe means safe for injustice. So this is an opportunity. Just take a look and watch, people. Don't just notice, see. Take the seeing of it. We are watching, and we're watching and seeing all the folks who sat up here and said this is a good thing. We're watching all of you. We see all of you. Instead of you being intelligent and saying, man, what are you talking about? This isn't even big enough of an issue to be crashing out like this. Oh, no. We want to see the folks who are still trying to talk about it. I mean, days later, the world has moved on, but take a look at the folks who are still fixating on it because they're angry about Derek Chauvin. They're angry about Amber Geiger. They're angry about all the rest of them. Just understand where they're coming from with this. They're angry about all the rest of them. And in situations like this, keep your eyes peeled for everybody who defends it, everyone who speaks in favor of it, everyone who tries to rationalize it. Let them get bold. Let them get bold because they don't hear anything else. They don't have any restraint. They don't have any discipline. They don't have any restraint. They should be shutting the hell up. They won't. Yes, put it all out there. Let the hate flow. Gather your friends, gather your buddies, get them all to speak on the record. Don't be smart and give yourself plausible deniability. Be extra industrial strength stupid and tell the whole damn world exactly how much of a bigot you are. Go ahead and let them know what you really are. Don't make me have to debate you and pull it out of you slowly. No, just dump it all out there all at once. So because once you've done it, you can't walk it back. Once you've exposed that that's where you really are, you can't walk it back after that. So you see, you make our job much easier. If your family and your friends will not expose the white supremacist you are, then situations like this, if it gets you to go ahead and do it yourself, all the better. All the better. The other thing I want you all to remember here are the folks who before now they could have been saying a whole lot more and they didn't. I want the young generation to see exactly what's occurring. I want the young generation to see exactly what Coonan will get you because there's a strong element of that out there in Frisco, Texas. I want everyone to see how deadly the situation is. I want everyone to see the lynch mob mentality. I want everyone to see what happens as a young black person, that you can be marched into court and you can be accused of a crime. And from the moment that you are accused of that crime, you will go from being accused to convicted and sentenced and never encounter another black face. I've said that now going on over 2 decades. And you used to have folk arguing over this. Remember that? Remember the old days when the old niggas or some of the young coons used to argue, y'all on that pro-black stuff, that Malcolm X stuff, that militant stuff, y'all need to sit down with that. Can't find those folks today, except, the most crassest of coons, but you can't find them today. Now, why is that? You notice now all of a sudden you can't find those folks anymore. Yeah, when things like this happen, you can't argue with that. So let me get this straight. When was the last time that a white man in America, in any city, you name the city where a white man in America can be accused of a crime, arrested, tried, convicted, sentenced, and never encounter another white face anywhere in the process? Carmelo Anthony was accused by whites, arrested by whites, jailed by whites, tried by whites, prosecuted by whites, defended, in quotations, by whites, judged by whites, jury of effectively whites, convicted and sentenced, and not a black person involved anywhere in that process. From the moment he was accused to the moment that he's convicted and sentenced, never encountered a black person anywhere in that process. Now, can you show me where any white person, name a city in America where that would be a white person's experience? Name one. In 2026, a lot of brainwashed Negroes told themselves, well, that couldn't happen in America today to a black person. All you're really doing is expressing what a coon you are, because we just showed you. After all the folk who would have told you, the Candace Owenses, after all those folks would have told you that wouldn't happen. By the way, it shouldn't be lost on you that Chud the Blunder was committing his crimes in Nashville, Tennessee. And where is Candace Owens and Daily Wire out of? What? By the way, where is Candace Owens and Daily Wire out of? Oh, yeah, Nashville, Tennessee. Okay. All right. Just understand that, folks. So situations like this underscore and emphasize to you who the enemies actually are. It gives them an opportunity to show exactly where they at. It gives you an opportunity to stop the debating. No one can deny what they see. And it gives you a clear-cut example. Notice, I'm not arguing over whether or not anybody would try to argue guilt or innocence. I'm saying, by the way, if this is a fair trial, explain to me why that this is a typical experience. Why is it that only black people end up in those situations? Show me a white man who's got the same story. After 250 years of American history, you should be able to show me a white man who has the same story somewhere. In the year 2026 in America, there should be somewhere that a white man has the exact same story. And yet you can't even name one. That's my proof right there. Now, debunk that argument. You're going to have to bring your facts. Oh, there is no fact that'll debunk it. Okay. Just understand that. Let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. All right, we got Will over here on Zoom. Unmute yourself, Will.
Jason, thanks for having me up. Hey, yo, I appreciate all the shows, the updates, the information, the perspective. What you mean, bro? I'll be supporting the show a lot of weeks. I don't know why you want, play the live sound effect on me like that. Hey, yo, reason why I'm calling seriously is a lot of people that get convicted of homicide when they're doing a crime related, and somebody dies in the act of committing that crime. So the way I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that the brother of Metcalf actually should be charged with the death of his brother because they was committing a crime against Carmelo, which led to the brother being killed.
Well, under normal circumstances, yeah, that kind of thing very likely possibly could occur. It could have. You'd have to have a different police department, different judge, different prosecutor, different state. But yes, yes, if you were not dealing with a white supremacist system of injustice, yeah, that kind of thing very, very likely would occur. Yeah, it sure could.
No doubt. I just wanted to put that perspective out there because I didn't hear nobody raise that, but I do appreciate all.
Yeah. If you could actually have it tried in a non-white supremacist court system, well, yeah, that could happen in this Alice in Wonderland realm you're in. Yeah, that's the only obstacle in your way there. Nope. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, it's not because what you're saying is impossible or illogical. It's because, yeah, when you're in a system of white supremacy, that's what occurs. That's what occurs right there. I want to make this one more thing clear out there and whatnot for this to be a wake-up call to all of you who are parents, all of you who got children out there. A lot of folk want to be absentee. You trying to get turned up. You're interested in getting back out there in the streets. And this is what happens. What I'm saying is, and I'm not saying that that's what caused this. What I'm saying is that for folks not taking it seriously, that you are in a war zone. So when you see that this is the kind of thing that can occur, you need to start teaching your children accordingly. Your kids got cell phones. One of the things that somebody who called in early this week said, which is absolutely correct. Your kids need to have their cell phones on. If somebody starts something with them, first order of business, roll cameras. First order of business is roll cameras. Because you see, the media, you saw as the media, they had reporters, they were all biased. I'm talking about the local level, not the national level, at the local level. The media there in Texas was completely biased from day one. They were on the side of the prosecution from the very first day, and they were basically the spokespeople for the prosecution in the media. We don't get. Remember, the white supremacists cover up everything. If they had footage that proved you are guilty, that footage comes out immediately. Folks, when the police department or the prosecutors have footage or evidence that proves their case, that evidence gets put out immediately. That gets leaked to the press. They do a press conference. They go ahead and drop the damn footage. If the police get accused of something and they didn't do it, you don't have to file any lawsuits, no Freedom of Information Act. The police department immediately goes ahead and releases the body cam footage showing that they were in the right. Every other time you have to sue, you have to subpoena, freedom of information, all this old garbage going on. So when they're in the right, when they can actually prove their case, when the facts are on their side, when the evidence is actually on their side, they go ahead and drop the damn evidence. They don't conceal evidence in footage when the evidence in the footage actually supports them. The very few times that the evidence and the footage does support them, they go ahead and put that out right away. They go ahead and let you see that right away. So for us, we need to start understanding that especially if you got kids, first and foremost, one of the worst things you can have is your children out here by themselves. I was watching a story the other day about the Atlanta child murders. You know, back in the 40s or 50s, maybe you could let your kids walk around and whatnot, but the government, and one day, this is off the beaten path. We're not going to do this tonight, although I am going to lightly touch on this tonight. Folks, the United States government, aided and abetted by the state and local governments, because white supremacy is a system. The United States government has been on a mission to create psychopaths, to create killers, to create a more violent, unpredictable society. You have a number of people out there who are, quote, schizophrenic. They're, quote, schizophrenic, mentally and emotionally unhinged, imbalanced, mental defects of a type and a caliber that we've never seen before. And I submit to all of you that in the only difference between now, the last 140 years, versus the previous 10,000 years, is that you now have pharmaceuticals. They have been on a mission to be able to create drugs and substances that they are able to use to be able to alter your mind, to alter your behavior, and most importantly, here's the part that's missing. Most importantly, to make it hereditary. I'm talking about poisoning bloodlines, poisoning gene pools. That it's not just enough that these substances are out there. They've got substance. These are substances that can have hereditary effects. That we can poison and pollute the DNA. We know this is true. We know this is true if a mother is pregnant and she's doing drugs. Now, if she's smoking cigarettes, could go one way or the other. It can certainly affect a baby. Fetal alcohol syndrome, that let them know, oh, we can poison the babies. Next thing you know, here come other substances. Next thing you know, here comes other substances, and now you've got, people with psychological defects at a level that we've never seen before, with no real justifiable explanation for why this is occurring. And then you hear about projects like the Tuskegee experiments, eugenics, MK Ultra, which is not a conspiracy theory. MK Ultra was not a conspiracy theory. And then you find out that a bunch of these so-called serial killers were subjects of the MK Ultra program. When I was a kid, they said this was all conspiracy theory. You folks is crazy. Conspiracy theory. This stuff ain't real. Decades later, Ted Kaczynski, Charles Manson, Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's like, wait a minute, they're connected to that MK Ultra thing that y'all said was a conspiracy theory and was kook jobs. Hey, how is it they're all connected to that? Yeah, I know. You say it ain't real, but by the way, I couldn't help but notice how they all connected to it. Okay, in the chat room, you got folks saying hormones in the food and the food is bad and whatnot. I suggest to you, not all of it. No, just where you are. As you know, see, as black folk, we had farmland. That's where we were. We had farmland, and then they pushed us to the beaches, and now they took all the beachfront property. But no. The soil is poisoned, but just where you are. They put the chemical plants where black people are. The oil refineries where black people are. The industrial plants, black folk are back right up to that. So all the places where you have your brown fields and your chemicals and your dumping and your petroleum plants and your AI data centers, all these areas where pollutants and chemicals are being released into the air, released into the soil, released into the food. Well, yeah, just where you are. Remember, they don't allow that in the white neighborhoods. They don't allow that within 10 miles of the white folk. So no, the white people are not subjected to that. Just you and your kids. They've got you boxed in, isolated, and they put it just where you are. Just there. And then what about the water? Please understand, folks. Do you know how expensive the damn bottled water is today? No. Let me go ahead and break that down for you here. I got District Attorney Lamb on the screen, so I'm sure you already know this. By the way. And District Attorney Jason Lawson, I'm sure you two already know this. Some people suspect you might be participating. I think it's worth investigating. We need to take a look into it and see. Folks, I know that a lot of you think about bottled water. And what's the first thing you all think of when you think about Music Mountain water or, those other bottled waters? Well, Jason, most of those are just taken from municipal water supplies to begin with. Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. No. I'm talking about the stuff that you know is good. The expensive stuff that comes in the bottles and, their designer water. I'm talking about the expensive stuff. I'm not talking about the stuff that comes in the big plastic jugs that came from your municipal water supply. No, I'm actually talking about the stuff that is actually filtered, actually purified, mineral infused. No, I'm talking about that stuff. Oh, well, that's a whole different tax bracket. That's a whole different price range right there. So yes, folks, you can get water that's been reverse osmosis in the whole 9 yards, but that's not the stuff that comes in the big plastic jug. That's not the stuff that says from the Arkansas municipal water supply. That's not that stuff. No. I'm talking about what they say, the artisanal water. Yeah, I'm talking about that. Oh, yeah. Oh, well, when you're talking about that water, oh, well, okay. Well, that's where you end up with. It's like, okay, well, that makes a little more sense. So like I say, even when it comes to that water situation, yeah, a little bit different. So no, it's not everybody. No, it isn't. It's just a select group. You've been maneuvered and corralled. And now once you get in these concentrated areas of deprivation of resources and impoverished, engineered in poverty, now that we've got you here, I mean, folks, when you talk about the food, think about that for a few moments. Most folks today are not eating the real food. So when you say poisoning the food and water, what are you talking about? You're not talking about the produce section. You're not talking about Whole Foods. You're not talking about Publix. No, you're talking about the aisles. You go to the store and the folks who are impoverished, you got a big basket full of stuff from the aisles. So here's these other folk are eating bananas and they're eating apples in the morning, the organic apples and organic, bananas and avocado. You sitting up here having to get the damn Cheerios. Think about that for a few moments. You're having to get the Cheerios. Please understand there are advantages to these things. How long, think about this for a few moments. How long does a box of Cheerios last? Now, how long does a bunch of bananas last? Remember, I'm in the South. I'm in Louisiana. How long can you get that to last? How long can you get a head of lettuce to last? When you're dealing with real food does not last long. All my yoga people, my Pilates people, my fitness people, you all know you stay having to go back to the store because real food doesn't keep very long. Mankind, especially with the Europeans, their whole existence has been around how do we preserve food? So first they started using salt and things like that. It was about preserving food because actual fresh food doesn't last very long. It spoils rather quickly. So if you got 5 kids Is it in your best interest to get a bundle of a bunch of bananas or a bunch of apples? I mean, I guess if you're going to feed it to them then. Or how long is a box of Cheerios going to last? Now, remember, I'm being nice when I say the Cheerios. Everybody's been to the cereal aisle. Y'all notice they got them big dog food size things of cereal. What? We've all seen those. Down there at the bottom, they got these bags of, especially if you go to a place like Costco or Sam's Club, they got bags of cereal that look like dog food bags. You can throw it around, dog food bag this big and a great big old bag of cereal. Here you go. Okay. Well, that explains a few things. So I want you to understand when you're talking about quote unquote food, what are we referring to? Because if it comes in a box or a bag, not really certain. You go to the produce section. First of all, have you all seen how expensive produce is? But second of all, yeah, the produce section, the meat aisle, okay. You have to get a middle class, upper middle class job to be able to do that. The cheap stuff is the processed stuff on the aisles. People, the Coca-Cola is cheaper than the bottled water.
Damn!
You think that's accidental? Folks, a 2-liter of Coca-Cola is cheaper than the bottled water. And I'm not breaking news tonight. People have been talking about this now for going on 2 decades. And by the way, when you see that Coca-Cola owns a lot of this bottled water, then you realize that Coca-Cola owns a bunch of the bottled water. Very interesting. These people have figured out how to market water to be more expensive than Coca-Cola. No, Jason, that ain't right. Folks, when's the last time you went to the store and Coca-Cola wasn't on sale? Yeah, I know what the regular quote-unquote price is. When's the last time you went to the store and Coca-Cola wasn't on sale? 50% off. Buy one, get one free. Buy one, get 2 free. So when's the last time you had to pay the full actual price for Coca-Cola? Maybe that's not your thing. Coca-Cola, Sprite, Pepsi, whatever they're selling this week. Come on. So any of you can go to any store you want to, including Walmart, and you'll find water that's more expensive than Coca-Cola is. Is that accidental? Is it? Going on decades now, is that accidental? So when you start talking about they poison the food or poison the air, I'm like, let's have a conversation about what food is. And then let's have another conversation about how it is that you ended up eating that. Have a different conversation about how that occurred. That does not mean that we shouldn't go in a different direction. That doesn't mean we shouldn't have different habits. I just want you to understand that, by the way, that's been leveraged and weaponized. So we need to understand what that is, because that's weaponizing it. And so you end up having to, quote, buy within your budget, and there's a bunch of stuff out there that's a head fake. There's a bunch of stuff that's a head fake. Especially if you've grown up and you didn't have mature folks around you and you got big sister raising the little kids and whatnot because mama's at the turn up or whatever the case may be, or daddy's off goofing off. Yeah, they start making those decisions. What happens? You're watching television. When's the last time television advertised to you organic bananas, organic apples, organic oranges? When's the last time television advertised those things? Hell, when's the last time you saw a Del Monte commercial? When I was a kid, we used to see Del Monte commercials at least. When's the last time you saw one? Think about that for a few moments. I assure you Del Monte is still there. When's the last time you turned on your television and saw a Del Monte commercial? Chiquita Bananas commercial. When's the last time you saw that? Because they're advertising food. and they're advertising it to your kids. But the advertising budget for the bananas and the apples has disappeared, in case you all didn't notice. Yeah, folks, not just noticing, but seeing. So that's we don't have anything else going on here? Really? Okay, we can go down the list if you want to. Name any of those folk who make any of those folks who advertise. Was that Welch's? Remember, Welch's has grapes at the store. No, they're not all bankrupt people. Welch's has grapes at the store. You used to see those. When's the last time you saw that? Oh boy. So no, you won't be able to hide behind that one. Welch's, Chiquita, Dole, you name them. What the hell happened? What the hell happened? What are they giving you here, man? What are they advertising to you? Somebody's trying to get your attention, but yeah, it's not for something healthy for you. What can we get out of that? What the hell can you get out of that? No, they're not out of, Del Monte's not out of business, but they're shifting around money to see if they can get rid of folk, because that's what they do. By the way, for folks who don't understand that that's the way that happens, is when they say bankruptcy, this means we want to fire a bunch of people. Folks may be unionized. We want to file bankruptcy so we can get the court's permission to fire a bunch of people. So that these CEOs in charge of this terrorist organization that calls itself a produce company, go look up the history of Del Monte. But yeah, this this U.S. state-sponsored terrorist organization that calls itself a produce company. Yeah, we want the court to give us permission to fire a bunch of people so that Del Monte, can go ahead and kick a bunch of profits where they need to be. So, yeah. Yeah. We want to go ahead and do that. Very, very important. So you got food. If you can get to it, you got air. If we can't poison it, you got water if you can afford it. It'll be targeted where you are, not accidental. Flint, Michigan, you still don't have anything. That's not accidental. You have a giant prison industrial complex. You have a giant court system. You have a never-ending encyclopedia of laws, and yet none of them are protecting you against that. That's not accidental. That's not accidental. Keep in mind exactly what you're looking at. So I don't want anybody to be confused about what you've seen. I don't want you to be confused about some of the things that you've encountered. They keep you all in a madhouse for so long that you start getting used to it. They got you hanging around crazy people for so long that you start telling yourself that that's the norm, that you've kind of gotten accustomed to that level or number of mentally imbalanced people. I mean, you've always had folks in society who were mentally imbalanced. You didn't have folks around here who were just randomly stabbing people. Random stabbing, random shooting, that was always rare. folks would be mentally imbalanced, but they were otherwise harmless. I mean, they'd be sitting there yelling at themselves or talking to themselves. But let me explain something to you. Where did these pharmaceuticals come from when you hear about meth and fentanyl? You got people, in huge blocks in San Francisco and in Maine standing around. They're just frozen in place like that. What the hell kind of drug does that? And who the hell did the research for it? Y'all are not going to be ready for what I'm about to say to you here next. You're not going to be ready for this next, but let me explain something to you. Man, tell me, how hard would it be to conquer a society or a people who have ingested a drug that's got them so intoxicated that they've frozen in place? How hard would it be to do that? How much work and effort would it require from you to conquer a bunch of people who've been ingesting a drug that has them literally physically frozen in place? You know, if I was a no good, diabolical, tyrannical, democratic so-called government, having a substance like that would be damned helpful. That would be really helpful. If you had a drug like that. In the chat room, some folks are saying the opium wars in China might have flipped the script. Well, China is still harboring a grudge behind the opium wars to this day. China is harboring a grudge about that to this day. But I submit to you that the United States government can lock down anything it wants to lock down. People, they're spending $100 billion a week, damn near. Don't worry, we'll get the final bill one of these years. What is that, or $50 billion a week? Some crazy number like that in Iran to hit nothing. The United States government could lock down anything they want to. If they want to keep drugs from coming in this country, they damn sure can. You tell me, name one thing that you could get into the United States that you could guarantee me that the government wouldn't be able to intercept. Name one thing. Hell, you can't make a phone call without them knowing. People, you can't make a phone call without them knowing. Let me explain a little something to you all. For my folks who work at the post office, I have to remind people of this. I don't want to get off subject of these things, but I want to remind you about what we're up against. My people who work at the post office, did you all know they take a photograph of every piece of mail that goes through the U.S. postal system? What? You heard me correctly. They take a photograph. They take a picture of every letter, every envelope, every piece of mail that goes through the U.S. postal system. A photograph, a picture. Now you all know when you mail an envelope, that little barcode that's printed at the bottom, you didn't put that on there. The post office did. Okay, somebody said FedEx too, FedEx and UPS, but I'm naming the post. You're correct, but I'm naming the post office because that's your tax dollars. So you might assume that with FedEx and the UPS and the corporate carriers, but by the way, that started with your tax dollars. Yikes. Yeah, now the ostensible reason is because there's such a volume of mail and whatnot, they've automated it because it would be too much for people to have to sort individually like that. So it's for all, they say it's for automation. Okay, but what I'm telling you is that it's also for tracking. What I'm telling you is that it's also for tracking. Want me to go further? I'll go even further. Take a look. This is going to scare a lot of folks what I'm about to say next. All of y'all in here who have credit cards with that tap to pay feature, did you ever ask yourself how in the hell is it that that thing is able to work and there isn't a battery inside of your credit card? There's no battery in the credit card. For those of you who are unfamiliar, this goes back to the Cold War era. That's a Soviet Union invention. RFID, near field communication, that's a Soviet Russian invention. Basically, it's reverse transmission. All they need is a little piece of metal, a little wire, and that wire will respond to radio signals. They used it to spy on American politicians before the American politicians captured somebody who told them what was going on with it. But yeah, folks, okay, I'm saying they have those in your credit cards, but you do realize that the little piece of metal that it works with is as thin as a sheet of paper. Let me say that again. The little piece of metal that's required is basically as thin as a sheet of paper, and it wasn't originally made. They've adopted it for your credit cards to pay contactless, but that's not what it was originally invented for. It was originally invented because they could use AM radio waves, I believe, and they could tune it until if you were in a room having a conversation, they could tune it so that they could listen to what's happening in the room. And that's the way that the Soviets were using it, and they were spying on American politicians. They smuggled them in like in paintings or something, and they were able to be outside of these embassies. They were outside of these representatives' offices, and they were able to listen to their conversations. And the politicians couldn't figure out that it had been going on for years, and they were trying to figure out, well, if they were doing it, then they must have had some kind of electronics, and there had to be some kind of battery to keep it powered. And the Soviets were like, oh, no. No, we figured out a way to basically use that little piece of copper to be able to, when we start transmitting AM waves, it's basically like a reverse radio station. You are broadcasting, and when you're disturbing that wire, we can tune it so we can listen and hear what's disturbing the wire, and now we can hear you. So they didn't know that it could work that way. They thought it needed some kind of electrical voltage. They didn't know. Oh, no. Now, most of you thought to be able to get radio to work, it needs some kind of voltage. Nope. Soviets figured that out decades ago. Now they use the, quote, technology decades after the Soviets made it. Now they use the technology in your credit cards and now for other stuff in your car. But by the way, no electrical current required. I said all that to say, do you know how easy it would be to slip one of those into the sticky part of an envelope, or in a package you were sent? Or if you get those thicker envelopes, like what comes from the state or something. Everybody doesn't send those really thin, flimsy envelopes to people. Some organizations, governments, government agencies, they use thicker paper for the envelopes for stuff that they send. Do you know how easy it would be to put one of those in there? Do you know how simple that would be? While you're getting your mail. This is who you're up against. So when you start talking about these people in positions of authority, when you start talking about these court cases, when you start talking about how serious they are, this is how serious it is. Let me go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. I don't want to get too far. I'm already too far off, but let me go ahead and jump back over here. We got Morpheus on Zoom. Morpheus, what's on your mind?
How you doing? Excuse me. How you doing, Jason? Great broadcast. Yeah, you're definitely right about the RFID chip. I just saw a documentary about it. Yeah, they found it in a painting in the White House. It was a Soviet gift. It's been there for years, so you're definitely right about that. But back to your point with the food, I thank you for bringing that up because a lot of us in the black community that knows that, and we try to tell our people to get the conspiracy theorists and stuff like that. Like for example, raw milk. I used to wonder as a kid why back in the day we used to have milkmen and now we don't. That's because all milk is pasteurized today. I used to drink raw milk. I live here in Florida. I was in Tampa. They had a raw milk section. It tastes way better. It's more healthier for you because if you're sick with raw milk, it makes you feel better because it has a lot of antibiotics already naturally in there. But my point is, they make it so illegal. I saw a white farmer selling it. It was on the news, and they sent a SWAT team to it. They sent a SWAT team like they were selling yayo, because they were selling raw milk. So they definitely poison us with that. And also, I'm the same caller from last week that you talked about earlier with the make sure to have them bring out the cell phones if they're in some trouble for the kids.
Yeah, definitely. You want to do that. And with your food supply and things, they want you to be scared about that. But only in certain areas. You can tell where they think you're troublemakers because you see that kind of crazy stuff occur. That's when you see that. And they really want to just stall you long enough so that people forget those kind of things. Because they would really like to have all this stuff taken over by agribusiness. I've been all over this country. And I mean, I got to remind you all, it's like the Matrix. I've seen some of y'all who live in those areas, in Ohio, the Carolinas, Virginia, Kansas. Oh my goodness, Kansas. You talk about Monsanto and stuff, man, they've got these giant reaper machines. I mean, it's insane. These things are huge. They're not little. These are giant things. And you'll see, I've seen fields that were literally miles across, literally. And it was like seeing the big reapers from that movie, The Matrix, these giant machines going through there and gobbling things up. It's crazy to see them. And when you see that, then you realize that's how big agribusiness really is. Oh, you can make an entire population dependent on that. They have the ability to feed everybody. We really don't want you knowing how to do that. Once they control it, then from there, you already know they genetically modified all their seeds. So that's been done decades ago. At that point right there, you're not really sure what's going on with it. Now it's all controlled from one source. So you're just taking it on good faith that there's not a big problem. And there usually is. And to back you up, Bill Gates is already, a lot of people don't know this, he's monopolizing farmland. He's buying up farmland all over the United States, and trying to shut them down. So that's why that's one of the reasons, not the main reason, but that's one of the reasons why prices are going up in the groceries, amongst other things. I live here in Florida. When I was a kid in the 90s, I used to see orange groves all over the place, even people's neighborhoods, backyards. Now I don't see that much. I can drive for a long time and I don't see orange groves anymore like that. Comes to find out, the number one place for oranges now is Brazil. So yeah. For produce and stuff, they've kind of outsourced that there. But remember what I just told you, whether it's Del Monte, Dole, or whatever, remember that's their home turf. Or at least that's what they've conquered there. So when it comes to your American tire makers, they don't do that here. They do that in Liberia. And when it comes to produce, no. We got that all taken care of in South America. You guys in the U.S. are actually a problem. Mm-hmm. One trick you can do if you are in a low income community, if you go to some of these Hispanic grocery stores, they get a lot of their food from Mexico. So I would go there sometimes, like Bravo, that's famous. That's a kind of Spanish one over here in Florida. And I would look at the meat. I'm like, how the meat so cheap? And then, one of them told me that they get their meat from Mexico. So, and Mexico has a different standard. If it comes across that border, that is a white person who is facilitating that. The Mexicans, the Venezuelans, the Colombians, those are just their employees. Those are just their representatives. That truck isn't coming up here because it's bored. It has to have permission to get here, and it's got to have a place to go take it to. So that truck didn't come here because it wandered across the border. It came here because it was called by somebody. Somebody who has permission to bring it over here. And that's what they're all doing. So these are white interests that have white businesses controlled south of the border where they can get it done dirt cheap. And then they bring the thing up here so they can go ahead and do what they're going to do with it. So never forget that part of it. That truck didn't come, it was called.
Good.
And when they're done with it, it's going to go back because we through with you. Go on back and go pick up the next load.
Yeah, that's a good point. You brought up the, I think you talking about the fentanyl thing where people are just standing frozen. In a weird way, that's a blessing in disguise because a lot of those people, when you look into fentanyl, got hooked because they went to the doctor and maybe there was some type of pain and they got these really strong painkillers that are equivalent to like, I guess, heroin or whatever. And black people, when we go to the hospital, they don't give us the good pain medicine. But indirectly, it helped us because we might have been big on the fentanyl as well. Because a lot of people got hooked on fentanyl because they were used to painkiller medication.
Yeah, I mean, that's these drugs that they make it. And by the way, these are just the ones that are on the market. In reality, folks, there are literally dozens, and I mean dozens, of opioids that have never hit the market for one reason or another. Sometimes they had bad side effects. Sometimes they worked too well. Sometimes they affected things they weren't trying to affect. But there are literally dozens of these things out here, basically with minor chemical or molecular adjustments to them, minor chemical or electrical changes. So we start with things like heroin as the base. We make minor changes to it. Now it's a pharmaceutical. Make some other minor molecular changes to it. And that's basically what you've been seeing happening is the engineering and reorganization of molecules on these substances to be able to see if you can make it more potent, to see if you can make it last longer, to see if you can make it affect one part and another. For example, hey, this works on back pain. So can we engineer this or modify this so that it isolates a certain group or that it works more in a certain area than it does others? So reorganize it. Next thing you know, oh, this works for migraines. Oh, this will work for back pain. This will work for neck pain. This works on your menstrual cycle. Yeah.
Jason, just one last thing and I'll let you go. Also as since we're talking to black people, be careful with the trees. They've done, I'm talking about smoking trees, because they've done studies where some people are really sensitive, where they can like get schizophrenia or some type of psychological problems. And then we know that they're souping them up if you're getting them medically graded. So a lot of people should, to be honest, you just should stay away from that. And
there's no good weed out there. There's no safe weed out there. People go do yourselves a favor. Get the book, The Botany of Addiction. That was debunked decades ago. The weed that you all are smoking today isn't even related to the one that your parents were smoking. This stuff is basically green heroin. It's basically green cocaine, and it has the same effect. Its purpose is to get you to care less about life. That's his whole purpose. His whole purpose is to get you to tune out. And if they can hook you there's a reason why weed smoking and poverty go hand in hand. Weed smoking and underachieving economically go hand in hand. Because the real thing is to get you to do it and you're not fighting. If I can get you because the problem with getting folks impoverished is they usually start fighting back. If we can get you impoverished and narcissized, well, guess what? Now you're not even fighting back. Because the weed smokers would rather smoke weed than eat. So guess what? We solved that food issue too. And that's literally what you're going into. Weed used to give you the munchies. Now we got some of the skinniest, scrawniest weed heads you ever saw. Why do you think that is? In the old days, weed made you fat. Today, niggas ain't eating. They getting smoking, but they ain't eating. And they don't see that, hey, dude, this isn't normal, even for weed. This is not what weed's supposed to do. Weed's supposed to give you the munchies. It's not supposed to make your ass sit up here and shrivel up. So the weed smokers are looking like crackheads today, and they don't even notice it.
Right. Well, like you said all the time, keep your Kit Kat with you as we go through this process, black people. You have a good night, Jason.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, man, the weed heads missed it, y'all. They think they're normal. They think they're fine. Everything great. You used to have fat weed heads. You can't find those anymore. Everybody who's doing drugs today is they shriveling up. It's like, yeah, they smoke the weed and man, damn a meal. They used to like go on food binges. They smoke weed and stuff. They did it so long, and then next thing you know, they eat everything in sight. Not anymore. Not anymore. They smoke that stuff. All of them you see, they're all looking like Snoop Dogg. What? The females are looking like little crackheads and whatnot. They're all weird built. It's like, yeah, that's what's going on. Yeah, folks, it happened to you so slowly you didn't even realize and recognize. By the way, have y'all noticed the weed heads all shriveling up? So you're used to seeing the crackheads and the heroin addicts. And okay, when you get on hard drugs, you just kind of stop eating. Get up in the morning, puff, puff. Okay, what the hell is in this that you ain't had to eat today? Tell me what is in here that you went 12, 15 hours and didn't have to eat anything. Now they'll drink. They'll go ahead and do that. These females out here, they'll have their green tea. I'm like, okay, you need to go investigate what's in there. But yeah, the weed today has been refined to the point that it's like a hard drug now. They're not eating anymore. They're not eating. I mean, I'm just saying, like, come on. For those of us who came up during the crack cocaine epidemic, we saw what the hell was going on. The crack smokers were shriveling up. The weed heads were eating every damn thing. They go on a damn binge, go on a bender, and then they go to grandmama's house and just eating up every damn thing. Not anymore. You go there and stuff, refrigerator full. They get their bag of weed, the refrigerator's full. If they got kids, the kids are eating, you dirty bastards, but the kids are eating. Mama's sitting over here on the damn couch, weeded out. She's shriveling up. The children, they got their Cheerios. Okay, because she's running through the damn store like the Toys R Us shopping spree. So she grabs some Cheerios and grabs some Lunchables. Oh, grab some Coca-Cola. She's like, let me hit this joint here, and that's it. She's out. So the kids are on the Xbox. They're eating Cheerios at 2 a.m, Fruit Loops at 12 noon. The weed man just is dropping stuff off like like DoorDash. He doesn't even ask for a day of the week anymore. He's just throwing weed on the damn front steps like the newspapers back in the old days. And yeah, this is where we at today. So no, weed is not the same. No, it is not. The only folk who don't know it are the folks smoking it. They think they're okay. They'll sit there and argue you into the damn ground. This nigga pants don't fit no more, but he'll argue you into the ground that everything's fine. So just you be aware, even if he ain't, because he's half a crackhead at this point. So you be aware. There is no convincing this nigga. He don't get it. They talk about on the pipe. Okay. All right, we got Blanco here on Zoom. Blanco, what's on your mind?
Hey, Jason, great broadcast. And I like how you said that. Green heroin and green cocaine. Because I'm not even trying to talk about weed, but I like how you said that. Like, I'm not even going to smoke, or I'm not even going to, like, sleep anymore with the weed that I smoke, which is something else. Like, I'm not even going to sleep anymore. It takes me a while to go to sleep with this weed. But anyway, I know you've been seeing the story, though, of the junkyards that are being set on fire because they want you to only buy electric cars. They don't want you to have the old car parts. Because these new cars, it's like talking about how you were talking about the tap to pay on the card and whatnot. Like they're putting in the sensors to listen to you in your car, the kill switch and whatnot. Like, I know you're up on that stuff.
Yeah, and that's why I was telling you all about that technology, because without me getting too far in the woods, although I got to get a little bit in the woods, for example, for General Motors vehicles, I have plenty. basically what people go looking for is the OnStar receiver. Now, for those of you who don't know, the OnStar receiver is basically right behind the glove box. So you can actually just take the glove box down when you're changing the cabin air filter. I've done it many a moon. Right behind that is the circuit board that has the OnStar transceiver for it. Here's the issue. I'm seeing a bunch of people talking about removing the OnStar transceiver. And I think that they are under the mistaken impression that that's how they'll keep track of the car. Well, yes, OnStar is how they advertise it. It certainly is. And by the way, every manufacturer has some equivalent of it now. Not OnStar where you talk to a person, but every manufacturer's got this. Mercedes had it for years and people didn't even really realize it. They didn't call it OnStar, but it was a Mercedes service that worked like that, but they could keep track of the car wherever it was, and they still can to this day. And what I'm saying is that they're under the impression that the OnStar transceiver is it. I'm telling you all right now, and it upset a lot of us, myself included, but it was only after 2021, I think it was, definitely after 2022, that General Motors had Android Auto wireless. So before then, you had to hook it up with a USB cable. Now you don't. Well, Android Auto wireless and Apple wireless, it works on RFID. It works on near field communication. For those of you who are wondering how that works, it works on near field communication. So that's how it doesn't work on the Bluetooth. It works on near field, or at least it's working through that protocol for it. Well, that's not OnStar. That's not the OnStar transceiver. That's something else. And I'm telling you that what I'm saying is the device in the car that's communicating with the Android Auto. And I'm saying that's not new. That's not new. They've been there. That's been there. A lot of folk don't understand that. So I'm just telling you that this isn't new. The cars, what they call it, lane keep assist. That means the car can drive itself. We've been had that. And with all that being there, I'm telling you, there's more devices in that car that they can communicate with that I don't think people have thought about that way. There are more devices in there that it can communicate with, and I don't even know if you can get them all out. Because, for example, if there's one in the ECU, which is the car's central computer, if there's one in there, you can't do anything with that. You can't do anything with that at all. It's just in there. Now what do you do?
Yeah, that's why like they want all the old cars past the year is 2017, 2018 is where the law kicks in after 2028, 29, where any car after 2017 will have a kill switch and whatever. They're listening to you. Anything that you say, anything, that you may disagree with the establishment, anything that may sound like it's pseudo revolution, whatever.
There you go.
They're gonna
okay.
Manufacturer, I know you're up on that. That's why they're
that's what I was looking for there. Blanco's kind of stumbled on it. That's what I was looking for. Your cars have microphones in them. So everybody, if you've had Bluetooth and stuff, and that's going at this point now almost 2 decades. So if you have Bluetooth and whatever to be able to talk on your phones, on your car, you got a microphone in your car for doing that. So that tells you that right there. I'm bringing up that part of it because what if that's not the only one in there? What if that is not the only mic in the car? That's the one you know about. So I'm like, okay, they could be using that to listen to you. Then again, there may be another one. There are microphones all in. It depends on which one you get. But there are microphones all in, for example, BMW, they've had this technology for a while. It's basically playing back audio slightly out of sync to be able to kill noise inside the car because there's not enough for all the insulation and the double pane glass. They got them, I think Mercedes does also, in the engine bay and stuff to be able to record noise outside the car and then play it back to the speakers because it'll interrupt those sound waves from getting inside the car. So it deadens noise even more. Well, those are other microphones. Well, if they can hear outside the car, even though they're in the engine bay, Well, they can hear inside the car. And while you're in there ripping out the mics and stuff, did you get those? Because, by the way, yeah, those are there. And I could keep going because we could be here all day with this. There's communication technology. Oh, man. Okay. I'm going to go buy a Bentley. Congratulations. They've got little iPads in those. Well, they say that that's just for controlling the climate and stuff like that. But I'm like, that's a little cell phone.
Sure it is. I'm sure it is, right?
Yeah, my point is, if it can communicate with the car, then it can communicate out. If it can communicate inside the car, it can communicate outside the car. It can communicate outside the car, is what I'm telling you. And that's just one among many. So, yeah, definitely they certainly want to make that a lot easier. Elon Musk, you've turned over the world to a bunch of technocrats who don't even like people to begin with. Their personal family life is a damn shambles. All of them, from Alex Karp to Peter. That's why they're all rolled together like this mob of incels. It's crazy. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Yes, I don't give a damn about your iPhone. Steve Jobs was one of the worst. You want to talk about a tyrant? Everybody is locked into their Apple ecosystem. Steve Jobs said, you don't know what you want. I know. He literally said those words. The customer doesn't know what the customer wants. He said, if you need to use you can use the iPhone however you want to, as long as you use the way I tell you to. You want a song? You better download iTunes. He wanted to have control of how you use the device after you purchase the device. This goes back a long way. Henry Ford famously said you can have a Ford Model T in any color you want so long as it's black. So these guys have believed in controlling you for a while. What's good for General Motors is good for America, said the CEO of General Motors back in the 60s. So, like I say, when we get to this era now, they're just blatant. He doesn't even like people. Peter Thiel, should humanity survive? Wrong answer. I don't care what you say after this. Wrong answer. Whatever you say next, wrong. I don't even need to hear the rest of it. After, okay, there's no way this ends well, period. Alex Karp. Hey, we need fewer people. Matter of fact, killing them is even better. Okay, right. We're already halfway down the alligator's throat at this point. So cars being on fire in the wrecking yard, I'm like, oh, dude, this is actually further down the line when you think about it, based on where we're at. So, and I'm not even thinking about flock cameras and stuff like that. I'm not even thinking about that, to be totally honest, because I'm like, okay, maybe you will, maybe you won't. I'm telling you, they're already there. I mean, folks commit a crime today. The real problem they have is they're in your head. You're addicted to your cell phone to the extent that you're about to commit a crime and you've taken your damn phone with you because you literally cannot emotionally stand to be separated from it. So you're taking it with you because you're afraid your girlfriend might go looking through it while you're not there, or somebody might call you while you're out committing this crime. And now the police and everybody else are triangulating you. More than just having you physically, they've got you emotionally. The biggest drug out there right now is cell phones, man. I consider weed to be secondary to the cell phone addiction. I mean, that to me is way worse. You have people addicted to an electronic device. You're talking to crazy ass strangers. You've lost the ability to talk to other people. Well, that works fine because Elon doesn't want to talk to you and the government damn sure doesn't want to talk to you. They just want you to consume new product, do as you're told. So once I've got you there, if you'll do anything to hang on to your phone, how many laws can I change and buttons can I push that get you to go with the new program so long as you get to keep your phone? And that's really where we're at right now. So forget burning the wrecking yard. Can we burn the cell phones? Because if they didn't have those, people would have to, I don't know, talk to each other, compare notes, maybe some of the foolery that's been happening. You all start talking to each other about that because you don't have a new YouTube short to distract you or a new TikTok to distract you with. You actually have to talk to people about what the hell's going on and whatnot, since you don't have that in your damn way. Anyway, you want to talk about an opium war? You all, you know what? I was going to reserve this. I was going to reserve this for another discussion. You all need to go check the CEO of TikTok. I'm talking about the Asian fella. There's a book. That he was talking about. Let me go ahead and, as a matter of fact, I shouldn't even be doing this right now, but I'm going to go ahead and do this right in front of y'all. He was talking about a whole book for that. He studied these things before he even got started. Where is that damn thing? Influence. There's a book called, two books, Irresistible and Influence. But if you want a third one, there's Hooked. So Hooked by Nir Eyal, Nireyal. Hooked by Nir Eyal. Irresistible by Adam Alter, Adamalter. And Influence by Robert Cialdini, Cialdini. So Hooked, Irresistible, and Influence. And he studied this stuff in preparation for how to make TikTok work and whatnot, because Steve Jobs wanted you to be addicted to the device. This guy wanted to figure out, how do we get you here and keep you here? How do we do that? And as you all know, the TikTok in China is radically different from the one in America. This is how much thought has been put into getting in your head, man. This is how much thought has been put into getting into your head. So, yes, I know about the wrecking yards. I'm more concerned about I'm less concerned about a person wanting to buy a Tesla and more concerned about the fact that Elon Musk was able to successfully create a Tesla cult before ever getting to a car, before you even got to this point. Remember, before he got mobbed up with Trump, everybody was kissing his ass, and he had a bunch of young people, which, by the way, like Steve Jobs, they were just taking whatever Elon Musk said was good for you. Elon Musk was the one who told you didn't need buttons in your car anymore. Now, Blanco, you're not nearly as old as I am, but you know damn well you need buttons in your damn car. If you need to turn up the volume quickly, you got to go tipping through the damn info display. You can't change the climate control. He said you don't need vents anymore. Just take this little slat we give you. Trust me, that's good enough. All you need is the steering wheel and an infotainment screen. You don't need anything. And yeah, that's all you need. And a bunch of them going along with it. Oh, yeah, and then one more thing. He said, by the way, I'm putting cameras all over the car. It's for your security. The first car with cameras that come standard on it is for your security. Trust me. Everything's fine. Well, it certainly has allowed people to see their Teslas get keyed. But I'm just like, by the way, now we know that the cameras are on all the time. Now we're finally finding out what you should have known from the beginning. By the way, the Tesla is now having to admit the cameras are on all the time, including when you tell it to turn off. Tesla has access to your cameras on your Tesla at all times.
Did you really think it was off when you told it to go off? Like, of course they're still on. Yeah, that's what Waymos are going to be all about now. Waymos are going to be the surveillance car. You think you're getting in a taxi, there's more cameras watching you, but they're still going to be watching everything else. So they're going to clock you doing something, and then that's where your Minority Report comes in. That was great homework, though. Like, I'm going to check out those books.
Yeah, they've done that. Your Ring cameras are always on. Yeah. Now they're Amazon. Them having to admit the Ring cameras are always on. They can pull up footage. There was a criminal case or a lawsuit or whatever where they were asking, when did you want the footage from? And the time frame they were giving the folks did not actually correspond to the time frame that the cameras were supposed to be on. And they were like, wait a minute, you got that footage? And they were like, oh, we might have said too much. Yeah, your cameras are always on. Alexa, spy on me, please. Alexa's always on. Your Rings are always on. Your Tesla's always on. So, brother, maybe the best thing that happened was setting them damn things on fire. If a car's in the wrecking yard, that's one thing. Once again, I'm not dismissing anything. What I'm saying is that we got fellas out here today can't change a damn spare tire. So the wrecking yard is only useful for men who actually know what to do with it. For everybody else, they were already lost. Hell, they want to buy a new car every 3 years because the iPhone has conditioned them to think you have to have the latest and greatest of everything. So just dig yourself into debt. So, yeah, brother, I mean, the wrecking yards are on fire, but the people's brains were already on fire. I'll let you have the last word.
I'll just land my plane with this. I appreciate the homework with the books. Look, man, when we didn't have cell phones and people were, haphazardly living their lives and whatnot in the 70s and the 80s, fine. Okay. If you were making money with Reagan, maybe you didn't notice that he was terrible. But of course, history will tell us that, Reagan was terrible. At this point, now that we have cell phones and Facebook and everyone's well connected, everyone knows what's real and, everyone's woke and whatever. I'm not even weary of people. I'm already like, oh, okay, you're the enemy. If you're defending the establishment, I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean?
You've been captured by the Matrix. It's like what Morpheus said in the Matrix. They are so inert, so hopelessly dependent, they'll fight to protect it. So it's about knowing who's plugged in still, because them being plugged in, it would be different if they were plugged in and were neutral, but they're not. If they're plugged in, they are hostile against you, and they will fight you to protect the order as it is, long as they got their cell phone, long as they have their porn, long as they have their access and whatever wacky beliefs they got. You are a problem because you're like, hey, that's not real. They're fighting you because of that part. When you start saying, hey, this is not a real thing, this is not dependable, that's what he's really angry with you about.
Yep.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. This is why I started the Black channel, so that those of you who are not plugged in, those of you who are not still dependent on the system, those of you who are not still zombified, you can meet up with other folk who are not still plugged in and not zombified. Because you all are not here because you're meeting apathetic people. If the extent of the problem was they were apathetic, that would be one thing. The folks you're encountering are not apathetic. The folks you are encountering are hostile. You talk to me about your family. You talk to me about your friends. You talk to me about your coon-ass uncle. Your coon and uncle is not neutral. You're upset because your coon and uncle is hostile. He's not sitting back saying it doesn't matter what happens. He's sitting there doing, I mean, Trump got some good points, though. You know what I mean? Trump is right by some of that there. That's the problem. Y'all young folk be making all this trouble in the street. That's not neutral. He's not neutral. Your cooning ass auntie talking like that, she's not neutral. If she were, that'd be bad enough, but that's manageable. They're not neutral. In the chat room, Max Holiday, I don't think people are ready for that conversation. Your cell phones are basically rigged against you. There's malware that can be installed on your phone that can survive rooting.
What? Damn!
There is malware that can be installed on your cell phone that can survive rooting the cell phone. I didn't say a factory reset. I said rooting it. So even for those of you who think, well, Jason, I can root the phone. There's malware that can survive rooting. Now, when you've got something that can survive rooting, the device itself is suspect and unreliable. The only way you could be safe is if you purchase a phone, basically, and I'm not even going to say graphene necessarily, but one that you can install the operating system on yourself, and maybe that'll help you. But I just thought you all should know, and this is not new. This isn't something that just happened. Malware that can survive rooting, that's been around for a while. This isn't some new advent. So in the event that they can do that, that occurs. Now, we're not just talking about the cloud history, though, although I think you're stupid and silly if you're using cloud at all. I think you're just dumb and silly. So you just go be dependent on it. But by the way, folks, yeah. In the chat room, they said better get a flip phone. Should I tell them or are y'all gonna tell them? Should I tell them or are you gonna tell them? Just in case you thought, let's go back to flip phones. Should I tell them or are you gonna tell them? Yeah. Way before Symbian, people. Go look up Symbian. Way before then. Operating systems on your cell phones. I know they looked archaic, but operating systems. Long story short, folks, your SIM card is an operating system.
What? Damn!
For those of you who did not know, even on your smartphones, there's actually 3 operating systems, but there are at least 2 operating systems. One is the one that opens the applications you all like to play video games with. Well, that's one operating system, but there's actually an operating system for the SIM card itself, which, as you know, is the basis of the communication. So believe it or not, in case you're unaware, there's actually an operating system that the SIM card itself is based on, separate and apart from your Android system that you're accustomed to. So Android is not running that part. So you actually have 2, and in some cases 3 operating systems running on your cell phone. You don't have a say in the matter. You don't have a say in the matter. So I just wanted you to be aware that if you have these devices, did you really think they were going to make these things so ubiquitous and they didn't have control of it? Hate to tell anybody out there, but by the way, the government can crack your iPhone even if you lock it. There is no such animal as a secure phone, even without a, quote, back door. In case y'all didn't know, the government's been able to crack iPhones, even if you don't give it a back door, even without Apple building in the back door, even if you lock it with biometrics, they can crack the phones. Don't believe me? Go look it up for yourselves. That's not a new thing. They've been able to do that. Now, granted, your local police department might not be able to do it, but if it's a high enough profile case, they can go send it off to forensics and go ahead and get that cracked. Somebody talking about crypto wallets. Remember, they told you that cryptocurrency was going to be untraceable. The government couldn't get its hands on it. It would give you complete anonymity. No one would know who you were. So if you committed a crime, nobody would be able to come get you. Hey, how'd that work out? Hey, folks, all the folks who sold you on cryptocurrency and blockchain and anonymity and finally a currency system that the government can't keep track of and they can't come looking for you and they can't come take your money from you. By the way, how'd that work out? Is there anybody trying to sell you? Is there anybody stupid enough to get sold on that anymore? But how'd that work out? You know, this opaque blockchain and anonymous transfers. You can even do illegal transactions and they don't know who it is. All they see is a entry on the ledger and nobody can find you. Yeah, how did that work out? FBI all over them damn groups. FBI all over the blockchain. Kind of sounds like it was a honeypot. What? By the way, folks, kind of sounds like it was a honeypot, don't it? They told you, hey, this is a place where you can commit crime and nobody can find you. Hurry, hurry, step right up. You'll be invisible. You'll be invulnerable. Come on and download this. That's right. Get your crypto wallets. Everybody get one. Matter of fact, your favorite businesses are going to open one. Hey, look at Elon Musk. You know, the Elon Musk who he only does business in dollars. Yeah, Elon Musk is telling you to get cryptocurrency. Yeah, but when he wants to open a plant, he ain't taking cryptocurrency or Dogecoin. He only takes dollars. But you're the smart one, right? They control the blockchain. One of these days, you're going to find out that the government made cryptocurrency. What? Damn! Yeah, it's too early to have that conversation with you now. It's too early because you're too plugged in and you're too naive and you're still addicted to your nostalgia of what you thought it was. So you're too emotionally invested to admit the truth. But one day, you all are going to accept that the government brought you the blockchain just like they brought you heroin, cocaine, crack. All these they brought this to you. Hook, line, and sinker. One day we'll have that conversation. One day they're going to trip up and start admitting, yeah, that was us. Yeah, that was us. Yeah, we did it. Yeah, bunch of you went for it too. Yep. Okay, so don't worry. One day we'll get to have that One day there'll be enough people who will be honest enough with themselves that they'll just admit, yeah, we got took. Not right now. Not right now. But one day they'll accept it. Probably after the stuff all crashes, you know, when they get tired of supporting it, whatever, and they'll replace it with some digital currency that the government really controls. It's okay. Only that when you'll know up front. It's like, yeah, we watch everything. You have no control of that, but you've gotten used to the mechanisms of cryptocurrency. Well, now you might as well go ahead and keep this one here. And yeah, we are watching. So it's, once they break you down, they just want you to get used to doing business that way. And then once you get used to it, they own you. Just like your cell phone, you're not going to want to give it up. So it's, even though it no longer performs the essential function that they sold to you. The essential function was that it was supposed to be invisible and couldn't be tracked. If you're willing to keep using it, even though it's no longer invisible and can be tracked, it's like, okay, now what? That's where you really are. But don't believe me. Don't believe one, just like MK Ultra, just like Tuskegee, you know, just like 9/11, one day people will finally let go of their ego and be like, yeah. It was just another head fake. It was just another head fake. Or don't. That's an option for you too. These kind of conversations also bother them. These kind of conversations also bother them as well when they see a group of folk getting together and whatnot, and it's not a bunch of crazy talk going on or a bunch of mythical talk. It's about factual things. It's about factual things. They don't like that kind of conversation going on too. You're supposed to be sufficiently distracted. It's the weekend. You're supposed to be worried about sports or porn or any other nonsense. That's what you're supposed to be concerned about, but yet y'all have gotten together and you're not talking about that. I'll tell you one more thing here. I want you all to make sure you guard your minds. There are a whole bunch of people who are being marketed to you right now as we speak. I want you all to understand something, that some of them, they're saying stuff that's supposed to be forbidden, they're supposed to sound forbidden, and I want you to understand that they are yet another system of control. I don't want you to become some googly-eyed idiot who starts talking about the merits of Tucker Carlson. I have never taken my boot off his neck, and I never will. I don't care that him and Trump are doing their WWE thing and are at each other hammer and tong. You are not going to fool me. And the same goes for Candace Owens. Same goes for any of the rest of them. So don't you get fooled. Don't you be silly. You remember who the enemy in the room is. Don't you get blinded by their little WWE little thing they got going on. Because just like I predicted, this was the only place that predicted it. I told you all when Trump and Elon Musk had their quote falling out, I said they gonna be back booed up again. Please understand that. Please understand. I said that from the very first day that it occurred. I said from the very first day that that happened that Elon Musk is going to be back in that White House. Mark my words. Did I call it or did I call it? I'm not even paying attention to Megyn Kelly or the rest of them. We've already seen this movie before. We already know that she's an elderly whore. She's going to go wherever the damn power is. When Trump had it, she was kissing his ass. Going into 2020, he was losing it. She's at him. 2023, she needs back in to the big house. She's kissing his ass. He's giving her open arms. As soon as things go left, she's backstabbing him again. This is what they do, folks. I mean, you thought that y'all thought that chick you used to know with her baby daddy, y'all thought they were bad. This is the baby mama, baby daddy thing. It's that. Don't you be deceived into thinking that he's going to get a full-time job and she going to stop being a hoe. That's not how that works. They smoke weed, they drink, and then every couple of months, he been cheating on her the whole damn time, and she acts like she's outraged about it, but she really gets a charge out of it. Okay, sometimes they break down fist fighting. All right, somebody might go to jail. They're going to be back under each other before this is over. This is what they do. That is the nature of their relationship. Don't you be confused. Don't you be confused into thinking that these are legitimate agents of information. Don't you be deceived about that. I point out their dysfunction. I point out the rest of that stuff, but you all have not seen me take my boot off of none of their necks. Candace Owens is still queen of the coons. Tucker Carlson is still a degenerate white supremacist. Megyn Kelly is still a white supremacist piece of trash. And I just keep reminding you of that. So don't you be deceived into thinking that any of them have changed or that they're reliable sources of information some of the time or that they might be coming around. I don't give a damn what Cenk Uygur or anybody else is telling you. They are still the enemy. They are still the adversary, and don't you be misled into thinking they're honest brokers of information. They are not. They are engaged, just like with black folk, they have humiliation rituals. I need you all to understand that in white supremacist society, they have combat rituals. What? Damn! Follow me, follow me, follow me, follow me. I've been talking about this for years, summers and winters, forever here, folks. In white supremacist society, this is a combat ritual. This is ritualistic combat for them. This is what they do. Just like they have this sick fixation with abusing people, they also have this sick fixation with these combat rituals. For you understand that this is outrageously destructive, but for them, this destructiveness is ingrained in the system. So you don't get confused about these combat rituals. When it comes to you, everything is about degradation and a humiliation ritual. This is why Tariq called it buck breaking. This is about a degradation ritual. And for them, these are combat rituals. Well, Jason, how can that work? Dude, you see it all the damn time. Hell, you can't get around that with a boxing fight today. Folks don't like to think about this stuff. By the way, they don't like to think about that. Well, I don't know if they want me to go where I'm about to go necessarily. They might not like that. Am I going to go there? Okay, I guess I am. Some folks, you might not want to go here. You might not. You might not. How many of y'all remember Sugar Shane Mosley?
Damn!
Jason, are you about to go here? Folks, remember that press conference between Sugar Shane Mosley and Ricardo Mayorga? Jason, no way. No way, Jason. Okay. How many of you cats remember that press conference with Sugar Shane Mosley and Ricardo Mayorga? Okay. What happened there, y'all? What happened to that press conference? What did Ricardo Mayorga do? I want to see how many of y'all remember that. What did Ricardo Mayorga do? Okay, not playing is like, yep, he remembers it. Okay. He remembers it. Middle of the damn press conference, what Mayorga do? He said, hey, let me see what your wife feel like over here. Yeah, she look cute. Let me see what she feel like right quick. Let me see what she feel like right quick. Okay. Now, I got a question to ask you. Okay, not playing this. Don't get jealous. Don't get jealous. Would you be surprised to know or to find out that was all prearranged to sell the fight? Would you be shocked or surprised about that? Because a whole bunch of folks, they go around, they geek out about it and this, that, there, and the other. I'm like, would it shock you to know that was all part of the plan? I mean, what I'm saying is that what did it do? It achieved the desired result. Do you remember what she said after that? Listen to me, folks. Do you remember what she said right after that? Am I the only one who remembers what she said right after that? I'm not even going to bother bringing it up. You can go look into it for yourselves. What did she say that she wanted? She said that she wanted Sugar Shane to whoop Mayorga in the middle of the ring. She did not say, officers, arrest that man. That's the part I'm trying to get through to you. Now, if you were at a boxing event, if Mike Tyson, oh, I said it. If Mike Tyson had grabbed Tommy Morrison's wife by the rear end, do you think that there's going to be a fight after that? Or do you think his folk are going to call the fight off and say he's gone too far? Yeah, his wife is not, we don't do this. This is unprofessional. Call the athletic commission, so on and so forth. Folks, come on, man. If another boxer's family is there, his daughter is there, and you grab her on the rear end, do you think the fight's still gonna happen after that? Come on, folks. Do you think the athletic commissioner, the fight's still gonna happen after that? Is that what you think's going to occur? At any point in history, not the last 5-10 years, not since Me Too, do you think that could occur at any point, that at that point the fight's still going to go on? Okay, there's some folk who think so. Okay, all right. There's some folk who sound right to me. Or is the goal for it to sell tickets? Because after that happened, that was all in the news. That was the only thing folk were talking about. Like I said, it achieved the desired result. It achieved the desired result. So just understand that. You see a lot of these things and whatnot. One of these days, you wake up and realize what's going on. One of these days, you wake up and realize what's going on. It's, Okay, what clown ass nigga talking about how Mayorga looks? What kind of nonsense is this? So, okay. What do you say? He's smoking that new weed.
What? You smoke crack, don't you? You smoke crack, don't you?
He sure does.
Look at me, boy. Don't you smoke crack?
Yeah, yes, sir.
You know what that does to you?
It makes you say stupid stuff like, Mayorga, you know, I mean, he kind of look black, though, don't he? Yes. All right. It ain't hard to find the folks still out of rehab. They still recovering. It's not hard to find the folks in recovery. You start talking about certain subjects and they just say crazy stuff. So it's not hard to find the folks who are in recovery. You know what I mean? My uncle does you back there. That's got what to do with what exactly? The pipe be talking to me sometimes. Yeah, y'all know how it is or something. Like you thought it was like hyperbole. You thought it was a figure of speech. You know, when Pookie said, it be calling me, for some of these fellas, it be calling them for real. He's sitting on the phone. He wants to put you on hold. Wait a minute, I got another call coming in. Hello? Hey, it's Pipe. Hey, what's going on, Pipe? Hey, bro, we're going to do this not. I'm on my way. So, for some of you, the pipe talking is metaphorical, but for others, that damn thing is literally having a conversation when you're having whole arguments. Why you got to go home? I got a wife and kids. Stay right here. They'll be all right. The kid's 3 years old. Man, nigga, look at you. Ain't no fun no more. She done broke you down. So some of y'all are sitting there having arguments with the pipe, arguments with the weed, arguments with the meth. Your best damn years done disappeared because, yeah, you got a habit. Irrelevant ass conversations. Could have had a good woman in the suburbs somewhere. You know, my uncle doesn't look black. Okay, she gone. And that's the end of that. Could have had a nice, quiet life somewhere. That ain't gonna work. Yeah, some of you females around here, the pipe be talking to y'all. You could have met the man of your damn dreams. Then you jumped your ass up. I like Lil Nas X.
Nigga, what?
All right, there he goes. You could have had the man of your damn dreams. You know, Lil Nas X is a real man.
Oh, please.
Okay. Yeah. The pipe be talking to you. Frank Ocean and Lil Nas X. I tried to save him, but this is basically what happens. So yeah, when the pipe get to talking to him, it's, yeah, stuff like that comes out. He look black, don't he? All right. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that. So, all right, I'm gonna let them live now. But it's just, I just wanted to highlight that to y'all. But by the way, if you want to know why stuff like that happens, that's why that occurs. So, makes life more difficult. That's for damn certain. Let me go ahead and send a shout out here real quick. Let me go ahead and send a shout out here to my man Mark B. Thank you very much for your support tonight here. We appreciate that. To Najee, Cameron, and everybody else here who's contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Click that subscribe button, click that notification bell. Join us each and every time that we're here. If you haven't been to blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work at blackchannelfilms.com. We'll see how things go, folks. We'll see how things go. I want to thank all of you for tuning in to today's program. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.